Coheed and Cambria, the Afterman, Descension, Key Entity Extraction 5, Sentry, the Defiant. The distress call is heard as Sentry the Defiant charges into the hopeless landscape, like a soldier on the front line, quickly driving a wedge between the entities and the ailing Cyrus. With the mass of unresolved souls now advancing on Sentry and Evagria, there isn't a moment to spare. Sentry takes over Cyrus's body and instantly provides him sustenance. The Afterman becomes strong, his physiological levels returning to near normal, as the unraveling maze of Sentry's life starts to unfold. A sergeant major in Vic's army, Sentry was slowly climbing his way up to the higher ranks in a completely opposite way than Vic, with hard work and an incredible moral compass. Cyrus views a scene he's watched before, where Vic has ordered Sentry to bomb the off-world structure, knowing that innocent people would be slaughtered. In this replay, the order is defied again, with Sentry returning to camp that night and confiding in another sergeant about what had happened, knowing in his heart that his disobedience would not be taken lightly by a man like Vic. He intended to notify the field marshal the following day, but he wouldn't make it through the night alive. When he is found hanged the next morning, his fellow sergeant was too afraid to pass the news on about Vic's illegal orders. The man kept his mouth shut until years later, when a mountain of evidence regarding Vic's war crimes began to surface, and the sergeant finally came forward about what Sentry had told him that fateful night. Eventually, one of the guards involved in the murder turned himself in, too overcome with guilt to live with his demons any longer. In addition to being charged for the heinous crimes, Vic was charged with Sentry's murder. In death, Sentry was awarded a post-mortem Medal of Honor, his memory no longer cloaked in the shame of suicide. Rather than a coward, Sentry became a beloved figure, lauded for standing on his moral ground and paying with his life. Still, Cyrus realizes as he watches the events pour out, Sentry's tale isn't quite as uplifting as it seems, considering Vic took his own life in the brownstone fire before he would ever stand trial. Justice could never be served in life, leaving Sentry and Vic with unresolved issues in the afterlife. There is a physical fight between Sentry and Vic as they go head to head, Vic trying to punish Sentry. Cyrus is caught in the middle of this, fighting as Sentry because he is in his possession, and it occurs to him that he may be able to give Sentry the insight he needs to move on to the second level. Having experienced Evagria's feeling of complete contentment, Cyrus believes he understands the difference between her and the entities who remain in the middle plane is that the souls here seem unable to look past unresolved issues from their lifetimes. They carry the emotions from the world into the afterlife, and it hinders them from moving on. With their shared mind, as Vic continues to throw blows, Cyrus backtracks within Sentry's maze, searching frantically for the memory of Sentry's hanging. Consumed by this entity, he feels the need to convince him to stop fighting back and let go of this worldly grudge. The walls of the maze turn inside out, appearing to almost regurgitate the memories back. Cyrus finally spots the familiar scene. The damp, dark barracks, where Sentry's life came to an end. Cyrus sees Sentry's body dangling from the ceiling, the cloth wrapped tightly around his neck, his limbs shaking, the group of soldiers looking on unaffected. Standing below him, Cyrus urges Sentry to wipe this moment, wipe all his human moments from his mind. Still in Sentry's possession, Cyrus warns him that to continue holding on like this, it will doom him to relive these memories forever. It doesn't matter now, Sentry. Just let it go. Move beyond. This moment doesn't define you. The entire scene stops, flash frozen in time. As if a tiny pebble had been dropped within the molten image, a small ripple begins to flow out from Sentry's abdomen, followed by another, and another still. Without warning, the noose around Sentry's neck bursts apart, light poking through his entire body like a million pinpricks. A heat fills this space, spreading out into every crevice of the maze. Sentry remains suspended where he once hung, now floating, cloaked in the same ethereal glow of Evagria. Cyrus watches, his eyes wide and his own cognition returning as the entity slowly begins to peel apart from his awareness. It's as if someone has suddenly switched on every light in existence, flooding the world with radiance. Sentry has crossed over. Cyrus is captivated, held in disbelief that he has witnessed this extraordinary thing. With droves and droves of entities, including Domino and Hollywood, approaching to occupy his body, his enchantment quickly comes to an end. And with no other choice, he faces the swarm of souls moving towards him. He's afraid and almost ready to give up. Just in time, Evagria consumes Cyrus, bringing him along with her to the dimension of enlightenment. This is more than a glimpse. He can see it in its entirety now, in all of its glory. Yet, as quickly as he has arrived, he must leave. Evagria waves her hand, as if using her fingers to cut an opening in the space around her, and pulls a portion of the materialized energy like a fishing net, showing Cyrus the way out. Free of the stifling vapors of the keywork, the All-Mother attempts to reconnect with the remnants of the Merrywell to magnify their transmission signal towards the heaven's fence. But the attempt fails. Relying on the only other option, she provides Cyrus with the odds of survival for a descent back. The suit, his only protection. She explains that his time spent in the keywork is unlike time measured on the fence. What feels to Cyrus like a week has in actuality been 547 days. Her tone suggests that in this absence things have become undoubtedly changed, asking him,
"Do you still want to go home?"
That is all he wants to do. The All-Mother plots the course of their return. If Cyrus is able to navigate the descent before they break the atmosphere of Heaven's Fence, it's possible for him to land on a satellite station outside of the planet Morlanus. If he misses the station, he will essentially free-fall the remaining distance back to Heaven's Fence, with the gravitational pull of the keyword playing a dangerous factor. His odds of survival would decrease significantly. The All-Mother gives the prompt. Despite her being created for the singular purpose of servicing him, Cyrus thanks her for her service, and for keeping him company on this lonely, lonely journey. He glances at the fiery light of the keywork one last time. It remains as incredible as the first time he peered up toward it as a child. The gleaming cobalt structure lighting the sky, igniting so many questions within him. Only now, Cyrus looks at it as a country conquered, a new language finally mastered that he alone can understand. He's ready now to return to Mary, to the familiarity of his laboratory, to the normalcy he didn't know he'd missed so badly. Initiate freefall. Against the odds, Cyrus is able to make contact with the Morlanus space station. After air traffic control notices an unidentified object barreling toward the station, and offer their assistance bringing him down safely. They are shocked he's alive, not to mention proud to be involved in the biggest news story of the year, and help transport Cyrus back to his home planet, where the whole world is waiting with bated breath to hear the story of the man who defied all odds for a glimpse into the unknown.